Oh, the recording started now. So to get us started, I would like to point to the teaching of friendship and being friendly with ourselves and what's going on the inside. And what does that mean? What does that look like? And how do we practice that? So, the classic phrase that Dhammarato would often use is "Hello, darkness, my old friend." Right? Uh, we can apply this to anything that comes up, whether it be a thought, a feeling, and there doesn't necessarily have to be dislike or dukkha that comes up for us to apply this particular practice of, hello, anxiety, my old friend. Hello, energetic feelings, my old friend. Hello, fear, my old friend. Fear is a big one for people, right? They don't like experiencing fear. Uh, when fear is just fear, um, we can tell ourselves all of these stories about it and we can describe it, but all we are doing then is just getting lost in concepts. Whereas we don't have to be so lost in concepts, and we don't have to let those feelings or those thoughts boss us around. And that's uh, generally what we do when we're not practicing correctly. That's what most people do, is they let their feelings boss them around, and they let their feelings control their thoughts, and then their thoughts control their actions, and it sort of does feel like they are acting automatically. That's where you get these people asking these questions like, what is free will? Does free will even exist? And the truth is, for people that are being bossed around by their emotions and being bossed around by their thoughts and being bossed around by what's going on the inside, people who are being bossed around don't have free will for sure. Uh, but does free will exist or not exist? That's always something we can just say not sure about. Um, but what we can point to is that a change can be made, you know, and it doesn't even matter so much where that change is coming from or how that change is coming about. We can simply recognize that, oh, it is worthwhile to make a change to be friends with ourselves and what is occurring on the inside. And yeah, to bring a sense of gratitude to that experience. But the gratitude, even, is really just a result of correctly seeing it, right? So when we see fear as just being fear, when we see anxiety as just being anxiety, when we see high states of energy as just being high states of energy, and we don't label them as needing to fulfill a certain purpose, we don't label them as being something we need to take super seriously, for example, and instead we just see them as a friend that we don't put all of these heavy attachments onto. When we practice in this way, then we can just have fun with what's going on in the inside. So, and I mean, that's in the suttas about, what did the Buddha teach? You know, uh, friendship or noble friendship is the whole of the path. That is all there is. And when we say the Four Noble Truths, there is dukkha, there is dukkha nirodha, there is dissatisfaction, there is a way out of dissatisfaction. Lately, I've been enjoying using the word there is stress relief. And I've heard Dhammarato say lately too. Ah, what a relief it is. What a relief it is to be satisfied and okay that these things show up. Yeah, it's okay that I'm experiencing these Kundalini energies, or yeah, it's okay that I'm experiencing this anxiety. Oh, yeah, for some people, the anxiety, the experience of it can get so strong that their body starts shaking, even, right? You know, and that's when the anxiety really is being put in charge and is controlling the body, and they've sort of lost control at that point, right? But even in this state, when someone is basically having what might be described as a panic attack, they too can practice this and say, "Ah, it's okay that I'm shaking. It's okay that I dropped something because the anxiety was so strong or the energy was so strong," right? And this is where we can point to uh, we can't know what the right way is of doing things. You had mentioned that in hindsight, we can see, oh, yeah, I could have done it this way, and that would have been better. That would have been the more correct way to do things. But even this is not true because we still don't know what the future is going to bring or what the best thing is for ourselves or the best thing for the future of humanity is. You know, um, we have no idea of what is to come. But the practice isn't about being right. It's not about being morally correct. It's about practicing dukkha nirodha here and now and not worrying about getting it correct or not. It's about practicing nurturing ourselves on the inside right here, right now, and not worrying so much about, am I nurturing myself correctly? Because, that will come as an outcome of correct practice, but we needn't worry about the outcome. It's kind of like you don't need to worry about what a flower is going to look like when it blooms. You can just take care of the flower, water it, make sure it has good soil, these sort of things, and the flower will just bloom. Worrying about what it's going to look like isn't going to have any effect. So instead of worrying, we can just uh, take care of what's going on the inside. And we do that by throwing the dukkha out. And this is a really good point to emphasize. And it's something, uh, I've been hearing from some people in our Sangha like, oh, well, throwing it out, maybe that's too harsh for me, And uh, it's kind of like if you're bit by a snake, right? And we can call the snake dukkha in this case. If you're bit by a snake, you don't just like let it go and just drop it on the ground. Then it's going to bite you again. No, we take the snake and we throw it out we throw it out far into the forest and let it go play with the other animals or what have you, far away from ourselves. And this is uh, this is worthwhile to do because otherwise, yeah, like I said, it's just going to like crawl back up our legs again right there in the very next moment. But if we throw it out completely, that gives us a moment, that gives us a chance to change the mind, which in turn changes the feelings into something more wholesome. You were talking about how you weren't sure how to practice changing the mind. For example, like when you're at work, when things are a little bit more hectic, a little bit more busy, this sort of thing. And the truth is that that just comes with practice. Uh, even for someone who has practiced for quite a while and who is practicing correctly, it's still easier for most people to practice in seclusion, to get away from the world, right? This is even true with musicians, right? You'll have these violinists who are the best violinists in the world. And when they practice, most of their practice is either done alone or with the orchestra. But even the orchestra, they're practicing mostly without an audience, except for, the conductor. So this is what I mean whenever I say, even for someone who is an experienced practitioner, yes, it's still good to practice in seclusion so that we can bring that practice out into the real world when there is an audience. So I would encourage you to, keep practicing Anapanasati on your own, by yourself, when you're at home, in a safe, comfortable, secure room. And when you keep practicing like that every day, over and over again, it makes it much easier to start bringing that practice into the work life. And another thing about work life that I would say is that if there's a lot of people around you and you start experiencing anxiety or there are these strong energies that come up, you can practice the skill of getting into seclusion, because getting into seclusion is also a skill to be practiced. So, for many people, an easy one to do is go take a bathroom break. Even if you don't need to use the restroom, that's okay. Just go in the bathroom, close the door, take some nice, long, soothing breaths, and say, everything's okay right now. It's okay that I'm feeling a certain way. It's okay that these feelings are coming up, right? These are wholesome reminders to give ourselves throughout the day, because we are so used to going back into these thought patterns, these old habits, these old ways of thinking that no, things are not okay right now. It's not okay that I have anxiety. It's not okay that I have a lot of energy or whatever it is that we're experiencing. We're so used to saying, this isn't okay or this isn't good enough. Right. But yeah, there's ways of finding seclusion throughout the day, and it's a fun skill to develop. For me personally, I used to see it as a chore. I would be like, "Oh, it's so hard to find a way to get away from the world, especially if you're working in like food service or just any sort of environment where it's really fast paced. It's like, where do you go? Everybody's always around you asking you for things and all sorts of things like this. But uh, there is a way to get out of it, you know. And if it really becomes overwhelming, I heard you were taking a vacation. That's the other right thing to do is take a vacation, take a day off. You don't have to be sick to take a sick day, right? We're all about here, telling people you don't need to work so hard. Um, so these are some worthwhile things to keep in mind. And, uh, saying that sort of, you don't have to work so hard. Mm, this also points to this idea that we think that we have to be a certain way in the real world. And the truth is that the real world is like not conditioned to keep us at peace, to keep us nurturing ourselves, to keep us calm. we would all love to be these sort of enlightened beacons whenever we enter into society. And it's okay that we're not like that all of the time, too. Um, it, to put it very simply, it's okay to experience dukkha even. um, could we label dukkha as disgusting, as dissatisfying, as stressful? Yeah, sure, we can label dukkha as all of these things. But it's also good to bring us back to the practice right then and there, too, and see, I'm experiencing dukkha right now. That's okay. That's not a big deal. And already, right then, we're practicing dukkha nirodha by telling ourselves that. And so this is the practice, is to do it, to just do it and do it over and over again when we remember to. Because what the Buddha is essentially saying when he's saying the Four Noble Truths, there is dukkha nirodha, he might as well be saying nothing else matters. That if you don't have any dukkha in this moment and everything is okay, then anything that's happening is also okay. Anything that you're doing, anything that you're experiencing, whatever happens in the world, it just, everything just works itself out when there's no wanting for things to be different than how they are.
Yeah, right. That makes a lot of sense. And I liked your point about not trying to have perfect practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of showing me I probably am practicing right, or I think I'm practicing right, but time will tell.
Well, here's a wholesome thought for you.
Yeah.
I can practice correctly right now.
I am practicing correctly right now.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there's the confidence.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of paradoxical though, right? Because on one side of it, telling yourself I'm practicing right now is a wholesome thought, it's beneficial. But you technically could be practicing completely wrong.
Of course.
And be telling yourself, yeah, I'm doing it right, and be totally delusional. So
Yeah.
it's like an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm really glad you pointed that out. So, I mean, here's kind of what we're pointing out, though, is that you can't fail when you're just practicing. When all you're doing is practicing, like failure doesn't exist. Now, yes, like you had said, you can practice incorrectly. I saw this video recently of these basketballers, and they were professional basketballers, and somebody asked them, "Can you spin the basketball in your finger?" And some of them could do it, and some of them couldn't. And these guys, they've won like championships and all these sort of things. So it's like, in order to be good at basketball, they were asked, "Do you need to know how to spin the basketball in your finger?" And they were like, "No, you really don't need to know that." So there are incorrect ways to practice playing basketball, and there are incorrect ways to practice dukkha nirodha. But if we are bringing our mind back to the Dhamma, if we are bringing ourselves back to the Sangha, if we are seeing what the Buddha taught as being worthwhile to investigate and to play with and to enjoy, then correct practice will come as a result of that. There will come benefits as a result of that. Worrying about the benefits isn't going to bring them on any better or any stronger or anything like this. But what we can always do is just, see what's happening right now and just look and see, is there dukkha here? And when we see it, there's that classic line. Aha! I see you, Mara. Eureka! I found you.
I'm very curious about when thoughts or feelings are like of far more of a neutral capacity, because I feel like for most of the day I'm not experiencing something that's obviously, oh, this is dukkha, I can see you. It's like here's a thought. It doesn't have a positive tone to it, but doesn't have like necessarily a negative tone, or it might have like a mild
Yeah, sure.
discontent or agitated feeling, but the thought itself, the vocal narration, is like a neutral narration. There's nothing like that is possibly inducing more dukkha. So I'm not too sure what to do about those sort of situations where it's of a very neutral capacity. I can't really see the dukkha clearly. I don't know what to do.
Well, if you're satisfied having neutral thoughts, then there's nothing to do about them. Right? But if you're dissatisfied having neutral thoughts, then you can change those neutral thoughts into more wholesome thoughts, right? So we can look at many neutral thoughts as being more wholesome than unwholesome thoughts, right? So a neutral thought would be like, oh, here's a good one. Yeah, today I'm alive. Yeah. Yeah, everything's okay today. Yeah, it's okay. Now, a way we can make that more wholesome is by saying, today I'm alive right now. Yeah, everything's okay. It's all right. And actually, like, pump some piti into that. Get a little bit of energy going. So we really see it and we really say, like, oh, yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Sorry, what's piti?
Piti, have you heard piti sukha?
No, I haven't.
So piti is almost kind of similar to this kundalini energy you were talking about earlier, where it's just an overwhelming feeling of joy, bliss, this sort of thing. The other Michael in our Sangha, he put it really well this morning, which was, it's like the kids when they're running out of school and it's the first day of summer and they're going, that's basically what piti feels like. And then sukha has this quality of feeling safe, secure, comfortable, satisfied, just taking it easy, right? And so basically, instead of operating on this wavelength of, everything's just neutral, everything's okay, and then going down to this, I don't feel so good, I feel like shit, this day sucks. Instead of oscillating between these two, we can oscillate instead between piti and sukha. So we can have these really wonderful feelings and really wonderful thoughts that really sort of lift us up out of the dukkha, out of our dissatisfaction, sort of shoot us up into the air. And then we can, when we come back down into sukha. Everything's okay. Everything's all right. This is satisfying. This is comfortable. This is safe. So these are basically, and I would say, I used to say, when you're lying on the floor drunk and passed out, that's dukkha. right? Piti is pushing yourself up off the floor, standing up, and you're like, okay, now I can sit down on the couch. And sitting on the couch, taking it easy, that's sukha. So
Right.
most of our time can be spent in sukha, but that piti is really worthwhile, especially when thoughts of dukkha, thoughts of craving, of stress come up again. We can uh, throw them away with piti, basically.
Right.
When that thought
So
of
it's a
yeah, go ahead.
so it's something where you kind of invoke a strong feeling. And would you say you should do that? Um, like, is there a correct way to do that? Are there times you should and shouldn't necessarily invoke pity? For example, I'm just thinking it could be less authentic, right? You're feeling something, and then you are having this other force that is saying, this needs to be changed. This is not okay. I'm gonna, get myself up and pull myself off my bootstraps and get myself up, and
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, so again, we're coming back to this idea of like, oh, things need to be done a correct way, or should be this way, or should be that way. Just play with it, right? You know,
okay.
there was a time in my own practice where I was experiencing a lot of pity, and it was so much. I was just like, man, I can't even go out today. People are gonna think I'm a lunatic, like. But you know, uh, again, we just play with it. We just have fun. We don't need to be so scared or nervous or anxious about, is this correct or is this not correct? Because the truth is that everybody's a little bit different. Some people are going to need more piti than others. Some people are going to need more sukha than others. You know, the only one who can know is you when you develop the practice and when you see the practice, when you really are paying attention to what's going on in your own mind. Nobody, you know, teachers and friends can help us catch the dukkha that we're experiencing, but the one who can catch it easiest is ourselves. When we see it and we say, "Oh, I'm going to catch it right here, right now," and throw it out. And what you had said about, sort of saying to ourselves, oh, I need to change this, right? I need to change this from dukkha into dukkha nirodha. Let's highlight something here. Okay. So dukkha, dissatisfaction, stress, craving, clinging, suffering, if you want to call that. I don't really care too much. Whatever you want to call it, all of these are unwholesome. They're unwholesome feelings and they're unwholesome thoughts that we have been taught, that we have been passed down, and our mind has been conditioned into them. They are our conditioning, right? And the reason that we call them unwholesome is because they're actually incomplete. In a way, they are broken. They are incorrect, right? Uh, that's what makes them unwhole. Is this idea that everything is not okay is not true. This idea that I am not good enough is not true. This idea that, oh, things should be this way or things should be that way there's no foundation for that. There's no evidence that that is correct, right? So this is what we mean when we say, oh, that's unwholesome. That it's quite literally a lie that we're telling ourselves. I had asked Dhamma, well, I didn't quite ask him, but we had a conversation about what is the most important precept to follow if one is going to follow precepts. And Buddhadasa had one answer for this, and Dhammarato has a different answer for this. And I like both of them, but I'll tell you Dhammarato's answer, and it is, don't lie. Because that's what we're doing so much of our lives. That's, bless our parents. I'm very thankful for our parents, but that's what our parents are doing, is they're lying to us. That's what society's doing, is they're lying to us. They're telling us that we're not good enough. They're telling us that we need this to be happy. We need that to be happy, right? And all of these things are not true. They're, we've been told our whole lives that satisfaction is this this thing that is so far away from us. And many of us are even told, even if we do get satisfaction, even if we do get peace and happiness, that it'll only last for a short time and then it's gone, And there is some truth to this, it's not necessarily possible to feel piti all day long, for example, or to feel sukha all day long. But the wholesome truth, the correct way to practice, is to acknowledge that things are good enough right now. Things are okay just the way that they are. Things are happening just fine. Everything happens because of the causes and conditions that made them happen, basically. Nothing is wrong with the way that the universe operates. If you really want to get deep into it, it's all just math. It's all just data, sort of colliding with itself and interacting with itself. And, there's no predicting it. Our minds are far too small for that. And sort of an even deeper truth here is that if we really do want to be morally correct and act wisely and be more like Jesus or the Buddha or, whoever, if we really do want to be that way, the easiest way to do it is to just be okay, to just be comfortable with whatever happens, The hero in the samurai film or the kung fu film is the guy who can be cool and take all the bad guys out, and then they're left scared and running away, right? And that's how we can sort of be with the dukkha within ourselves, or with the hindrance, as I should say, is that we just act cool and we say, hey, we've got this, we can do this. And you'd be surprised how quickly the hindrances will just run away without even having to throw them out in the first place. But this takes practice. We do have to throw them out when they bite us. We do have to throw the dukkha out whenever we're wrapped up in it and whenever it's bossing us around. And yes, we're not always going to be practicing correctly. And it may be that we have unwholesome thoughts all day long. All that matters is, can you spot it right now? Because if you can remember to spot it right now, that's another opportunity that you've given yourself to practice. And the more that you do that, the more that you'll remember to practice, and the more that means you'll be able to practice more throughout the day. And that practice just keeps building and building and building upon itself, leading to a more satisfied, calm, peaceful, happy mind, happy life, etc. So it is worthwhile to do. I kind of like to point to this idea that we don't have to end the cycle of dukkha right now. We don't have to end the cycle of our bad thoughts and our bad habit patterns completely, because we don't even know what the end of that cycle will look like. We don't know what it'll look like for a habit that we had been keeping up to just completely fall away, to completely fall apart. But we can break that cycle right now. We can't say, I'm not going to think that right now. I'm not going to think that in this moment. Instead, I'm going to think, this is nice. I'm good enough. Oh, yeah, I'm experiencing some anxiety. It's good to see that anxiety. I'm glad that I see it. If you didn't see that you were anxious, if you didn't see that your body was shaking, maybe you get in the car and then you drive and now you're in a wreck because your anxiety had taken control of your whole body, right?
Mm.
So instead of being afraid to see our anxiety or being afraid to see what we could call, like Kundalini energies type things like this, we can be happy to see them. Be like, oh yeah, I'm glad that I see that there. I'm glad that I'm present currently to experience that. And this life, one thing I've really found true more and more doing this practice is that this life really is a gift. This life really is a blessing every single moment. And you don't know how long that it's going to last. And if we can really appreciate it right now, right here, if we can really be satisfied, then the gift just keeps on giving. I mean, being dissatisfied is almost worse than being dead. Because when you're dead, it's like at least you're not dissatisfied.
True. Well, you don't know that.
Oh, that's true. Not sure. Yeah, might
Not
still
sure.
feel things when we're dead. Yeah, not sure. Uh, so yeah. But yeah, do you have any more thoughts on this that you'd like to share and talk about?
Thanks for clearing it up. It's hard to know if I have more thoughts or no thoughts, because part of me is like, yeah, it's okay. And you don't need to have any thoughts on it. That often happens when I talk to Dhamma. I'm like, he's like, he goes on for like 20 minutes, and then I'm like, yeah, I don't need to know anymore. And then I end the call, and then the next day I'm like, man, I wish I knew that. So
Yeah, I mean, that just happens. But congratulate yourself on seeing that, right? This is where we really bring back the idea of congratulations. I'm not, where are you from? Or where do you
I'm
live?
from New Zealand, but I live in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, in Australia, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they've still got a bit of a Western mindset there. It's, you know,
pretty
uh,
Western.
yeah. Basically, uh, just keep up the practice and this, celebrating every step of the process. Celebrate when you see the dukkha, celebrate when you see those feelings and you're able to make friends with those feelings on the inside, celebrate when you're able to make a change, and celebrate just being alive. This idea of celebration, I would almost say celebrating is also a skill. Being that party animal, or what we could call a pity party animal. And not pity party, but PITI party animal, right?
Yeah.
Is, you know, something Dhammarato used to say was, who wins at the, who wins at the World Cup, for example? Do you know?
No, who wins? The
Whoever
Olymp-
has the most fun.
Right.
So yeah, and I would say it's not all about having fun, right? But you know, I would also say that it's like so much of the world is just so serious about things that really just don't even matter at all, and they're so serious about things that they don't even really care about. They've just been told to care about.
Yeah.
They've been taught to care about those things. And, see that in yourself and see that, oh yeah, I don't need to take this so seriously right now. Instead, I could have fun. And really do look at life as a playground. It is important to enjoy being on the playground. It is important to be playful. It is important to be friendly, to be kind, but you don't need to take it so seriously.
Yeah.
The kids who take playing on the playground seriously are the ones who cry, are the ones who get upset, and they're the ones that get hurt. They say, oh no, you're not going to get on that swing. It's my turn. And then they punch the other kid off the swing.
Yeah, this is a really interesting, and I feel like it is, I guess, the piece of the puzzle that is going to really benefit me moving forward, which is that whole idea you talked about, that gratefulness, that appreciation of everything that arises, really. So moving from neutrality, or just experiencing it to, this is beautiful, and it's not even like I need to change this, but it's like an appreciation for it, which elevates it.
We can also, with things that are more neutral, we can also just say, hey, glad to see you. Glad to see you too. These neutral feelings or these neutral thoughts. Part of this practice isn't just changing the mind into wholesome thoughts. It's changing our attitude and our perspective of the thoughts as well. Right. And even just, and that helps grow an appreciation more so of just what is happening right now. It's like, yeah, I'm glad to see that neutrality too. That's just another part of life.
Yeah.
That we can enjoy.
Yeah, very true. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. I hope you enjoy your vacation in Fiji. Don't try too hard to take it easy and relax.
I'm going to an Indian wedding, so we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. Spread, see if you can be a wholesome party animal.
Yeah, I will do.
All right. You take care, my friend. This was
You
so
too.
nice talking with you.
Awesome talking with you as well.
All right.
Thanks, Mikey.
I'll see you later. Yeah.
Catch you later.